There are people who love pain, not in the way of wounds or punishment, but in the quiet ache they keep returning to. They are drawn to it like a familiar song, one they know by heart. The sadness, the longing, the heartbreak, all of it feels like home. They walk through life as if carrying an invisible bruise under their skin. Every time something good begins to bloom, they flinch, not because they want to suffer, but because they don't yet know how to exist without suffering. Happiness feels foreign. Love without struggle feels unreal. So, unconsciously, they seek out what hurts, because it's what feels true. This is not madness, it is memory. To love pain is not to desire harm, but to confuse pain with aliveness. It is the psyche's way of saying, I only know how to feel when I'm hurting. In psychology, this is often rooted in early attachment, in homes where love and pain were braided together so tightly that the child could no longer tell them apart. If warmth came only after tears, if affection arrived only after punishment, if attention was earned through suffering, the nervous system learned a dangerous equation. Love equals pain. And so, the child grows into an adult who seeks intensity instead of safety, chaos instead of calm. Because peace, to them, feels like absence. It feels like being unseen. They fall for people who wound them, not because they enjoy the wound, but because the wound feels like home. And in that ache, they rediscover the ghost of a parent who was both the comfort and the source of pain. Pain can be seductive. It sharpens the senses. It reminds us we exist. For someone raised in emotional deprivation, pain becomes proof of life. Imagine a child who learns that love arrives only when they cry, only when they break, only when they become small enough to fit into someone else's expectations. This child will grow up believing that suffering is the only bridge to intimacy. They will love people who leave them waiting, who give and withdraw affection unpredictably, because that pattern mirrors the earliest rhythm their body knew, the push and pull of inconsistent care. It is not that they want to suffer, it's that they cannot yet imagine love without suffering. To them, tenderness without turbulence feels empty, unreal, or even frightening. This is what psychologists sometimes call repetition compulsion, the unconscious drive to recreate familiar pain in the hope of mastering it. We replay the old wound, not to be hurt again, but to finally change the ending. But the tragedy is this: most never realize they are still acting out a story that began in childhood. They mistake the pain for passion, the drama for depth, the ache for authenticity. Pain offers a strange kind of control. When we hurt ourselves, emotionally or through the people we choose, we at least know the pattern. We can predict it. We can brace for it. Safe love, by contrast, feels like free fall, a vast space where the heart is exposed and unguarded. For the wounded, that openness feels like danger. So they stay in relationships that burn. They chase unavailable people. They sabotage what's good. They mistake the calm for boredom, the quiet for indifference. Deep down, they are terrified that if the pain stops, the connection will vanish too. Because in their nervous system, pain is the connection. And that's the cruel paradox. To feel safe, they must first feel unsafe. To feel loved, they must first suffer. Maybe you see yourself here. Maybe you know what it's like to crave the ache, to replay old arguments, to chase people who won't choose you, to stay where you're unseen but still needed. Maybe you've mistaken the fire for warmth, the storm for love, the silence after chaos for loneliness. You tell yourself you're drawn to complexity, to depth, to intensity. But beneath those words lies something simpler, familiarity. You return to what your body remembers, even when your mind pleads for something different. Every time you feel that pull toward pain, something ancient is calling, not to destroy you, but to be witnessed. It is the child still trying to understand why love hurts so much. Trauma doesn't vanish when we understand it. It lingers in the body, in muscle tension, in the way the heart beats faster when someone gets too close, in the urge to run when someone says, "I love you." The body remembers the times love was dangerous, the times it meant control, guilt, or abandonment. So even as you crave affection, another part of you braces for the blow. This is why healing isn't just about insight. It's about safety, about teaching the body that it can feel love without bracing for pain. To fall in love with pain is, in truth, to fall in love with the only version of love you've known. And to heal is not to erase that version, but to expand it. Healing begins when you stop interpreting peace as absence, when you stop confusing stillness with emptiness. It begins the moment you allow yourself to feel safe and resist the urge to flee that safety. When you stay with the quiet after the storm and realize that peace is not the same as loneliness, you will begin to notice that love does not have to hurt to feel real. That tenderness can exist without turmoil. That connection can feel gentle, not consuming. And yet, there will always be a temptation to return, to touch the old bruise, to feel that sting of familiarity, because part of you still believes that love must be earned through suffering. So healing is not a straight line. It's a slow unlearning, a patient retraining of the heart. You learn to pause when the old hunger rises. You learn to ask, is this love or is this a memory? And sometimes you will choose differently. Not because the pain is gone, but because you no longer confuse it with truth. Pain, when faced consciously, becomes initiation. It strips away illusions, dismantles false selves, and reveals what's been buried beneath survival. In that sense, to fall in love with pain is not entirely a curse. It is also an invitation. An invitation to meet the part of you that has been waiting to be seen, not for its strength or endurance, but for its fragility. There's a kind of sacredness in the wound, not because it defines you, but because it shaped your way of reaching for love. When you begin to see that, the wound no longer owns you. It becomes a teacher. Pain was never asking to be worshipped, only to be understood. Once you understand it, it softens. It lets you go. Maybe the ones who fall in love with pain are simply the ones who once loved without being loved back, and never stop trying to make it mean something. But one day, they'll learn that love doesn't require suffering to be sincere, that tenderness is not weakness, that peace can feel as full as passion. And when they do, they'll discover that what they were chasing was never pain itself, but the right to finally feel without it. Because in the end, pain was never the proof of love. It was only the echo of a heart that had forgotten what love really sounded like. We stop falling in love with pain the moment we realize we were never meant to earn love through suffering, only to remember we were worthy of it all along.